Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Amazon European Masters. We're heading into game number 5 out of 6, potentially 7 though, for the day, as we just saw Bisons lose to the Prime League 3rd seed Unicorns of Love 6th edition, who did lock themselves in the top 8. And that does mean that this game between Atleta, the first seed from the PG Nationals, and Bisons E-Club doesn't really matter, but certainly it could be exciting. Regardless though, let's take a look at how Bisons E-Club lost that game against Unicorns of Love in these highlights.
You know, we're coming into this next game. We know that these two teams are now not going to be progressing further in the tournament. Doesn't mean we can't have some kind of fun with it. Doesn't mean that we can't kind of celebrate these teams and how they got here. But Bison's in this game. You know, they were in it for a long run. They had some moments where they were really actually punishing. This team fight in particular, we were start thinking, oh my gosh, this flank from Ibo is going to be the killer. That's going to be the one. And actually, they ended up dealing with that very, very well. This was the fight where finally, though, the dam kind of started to show the cracks in it. The water started flowing through, and the team kind of fell apart a little bit.
Yeah, and when you talk about celebrating, I think especially Bisons with their miracle run deserve to be celebrated for even making it to the main stage. No one really thought they would do well in the LVP. Maybe make playoffs, but not really be a star team. Maybe eyes were on other teams, Fnatic, Kisso, Barca Esports, but Bisons in that playoffs, they upset G2 Arctic, they upset Barca, they upset Koi as well, they upset all the big teams, and they deserve to get that chance at the European Masters.
No, just because I think what is worth doubling down on is that just because they go out here and they didn't have the best showing in this tournament, that doesn't negate what they've already achieved, either on a regional level or elsewhere. And I think that Bisons, you know, we get to see them one last time today, and I'm looking forward to really seeing what they can bring out. Doesn't impact the standings, might have a very fun impact on how we enjoyed today, though. And they have the creative drafts. I want to see the most creative draft out of them. Come on, show us what you got.
Yeah, show us what they have. They have definitely showed a lot of things, let's be honest, at the Amazon European Masters. But over on the side of Atleta, we talked about it just when we went on for game number 4, that they will have the chance to play Blue Shell, potentially, depending on the result of the game. But now that role is out. They just are here to show what they really can do. I think the players haven't had that big chance yet to really show their main individual skill.
Yeah, and that's a good point, too, you know, because... So actually, this is something which I take a lot of inspiration from how Munchables phrases it, because he said this a number of times before in various situations. There is a chance that these teams kind of don't take the game seriously, but they try and experiment a little bit and they do something a little bit out there. If that happens, we are more than happy to have fun with it. If they do actually want to take this very seriously, and again, as you're saying, particularly on the side of Atleta, show what they're made of. Really show up and have that good performance. You know, we're here to facilitate that too. And either way, these teams are coming here to this international level of competition within the ERL system. And these games do mean a lot for the teams and the players and their work, which they can show going further forward from this point.
Yeah, and Atleta as well. We've talked so much about the Bison's miracle run, but Atleta has also made a little bit of one of those. Everyone in the PG Nationals was expecting Mashko to be the champions. They dominated the regular season, but
very true.
In the finals, Atleta 3-0'd them, and it was a deserved that they made it to the main event. And let's head into the draft and see what the players have planned for us. I am excited. Will it be a good old game of League of Legends, or will it be we're going all out for the bloodbath? I'm excited.
We'll see. We'll flip that. Try to actually remember if we have ourselves the lineups first. Actually,
we have lineups.
So we can finally see those players one last time on our screens in terms of the full rundown of those players. And of course, we saw Bison's on the screen just before this, but it's Atleta will be, of course. Well, it'll be our first game with them today as well. I get to see who's on the riff for them.
Yeah, Atleta. I am very excited to see them, but it looks like Bison will be the first team to highlight. Looking at how they played in the last game, I think one of them really stepped up in some capacity, but especially Mervin had a pretty good performance on the Camille.
Considering how that first round robin went, I think Mervin had a solid couple of games today. I also think that, you know, you look at Ascuria on the Leona had some very near misses on those engages, but of course it's really the last game of the tournament coming in, and one last time to show what they're made of.
And let's take a look at them for the first time when you and I are here. Namara, Gabo, Mighty Dragon, Sonics, and Kospect. Gabo in particular, someone who's very highlighted.
I really appreciate how it looks like they're part of like the Aha Take On Me music video. I really appreciate the art style of this. It's very different. I'm gonna remember this.
You know, I don't catch that reference, but I think it's cool. I like that drawing.
Oh, no.
That's how I'll put it.
I'm used to being young. I don't get happened?
That. You're used to being with people your age.
Next thing I'm gonna be like referencing classic rock, and you're gonna be like, what's a rock?
I'm not gonna get a single. I'm not gonna get a single one of your references. You know, the age gap is too big. It's an age diff. It's an age diff.
I'll give you a time-honored tradition, something which my brother has had to deal with quite a lot. Just smile, wave, nod, make some signs and sounds of affirmation. It normally goes okay after that point.
I'll try, depending on how good your joke quality is. Regardless, though, we should, this time around,
Questionable.
have the draft ready. I'm not so confident anymore after the fact that I just called it before, but it was the lineups instead. But hey, let's see finally what the players have prepared for us.
Gotta
I'm
keep us on
excited.
our toes, you know? We might be going to it, might be not. But either way, you know, as we said, could really be keeping an eye on this draft to try and get a taste in the air of what's going to be happening in this game, whether we're going to have ourselves more interesting drafts or something to, again, showcase the potential of both these teams. The thing about Bisons, though, is that even if they do something strange, it's kind of what they normally do. It's a little bit hard to tell sometimes.
Yeah. It's certainly going to be Atleta that we really look at to be the team that goes, okay, with our draft,
Buy
do
into
we
it
go
as well,
for,
yeah.
for a serious game or creative draft? Because Atleta are the more standard of the two teams.
But what's really interesting about that, because you mentioned about like Atlanta beating out Matchco. Now, last split, because that was my first EU Masters, and one of the teams that I got to cast in the group stage there was Matchco in their previous iteration with Sebex, and he was the guy playing Nasus mid and Annie mid. So PG Nats isn't exactly... it's not unknown to them to do a couple of the stranger drafts too. So we'll have to see again if Atlanta want to carry along that kind of style. And of course, they beat out Matchco to get here with their more new iteration. As you were saying, they kind of they totaled them in the finals to get to this point and have one last chance, as we said, to continue on the PG Nats kind of their dream in the EU Masters groups.
Yeah, we do have a bit of a break, so we will take a look at the standings though before we head into the draft. I've been baited twice now, I'm sorry guys. Regardless though, the standings, yeah, that'll be our focus instead.
First one's on you, second one, nah, that's okay. We can deal with that one. But either way, you know, we're getting very close to the end of the day for Group D and our second round robin here. LDLC, undefeated, Atleta, yet to pick up a win. Of course, they still have one game each across all of these teams.
It's now or never, boys.
To end out that double round robin.
They have to do it now, right? They have to at least give us a good game, and I am excited to see what they have planned. And Bison C Club, it's rough for them. We talked a lot about the LVP as a whole, and as you can see, only two teams made it through. Parsa knocked out in play-ins by Bifrost, who are now in the group with the first seed, and the only remaining hope from the LVP, Fnatic Kessel.
I mean, it's understandable, right? You know, you come up against the powerhouse of the NLC region. It's understandable.
Calling us a powerhouse, that's a bit ambitious,
okay,
but yeah,
you
sure,
say that,
go
but
for
I mean,
it. We'll take it.
Yeah, you can have, you know, but looking across like the entirety of the groups, you can talk about who are surprise victors and the people who've kind of struggled as well come into it. Bifrost is probably up there, and Bison's is also probably up there in terms of the surprise of sadly how they haven't quite managed to kind of have all guns firing from this. The interesting thing for me actually is between Group C and D, you know, Bifrost sat there in second, Unicorns looking to be, well, sat in second as well. Of course, we got a second round robin to be played from that. Remember, they were in the same play-ins group. These two teams both face each other in that group, and you see how much power can come out of very almost unexpected areas of the tournament. So again, of course, we caught some games of the play-ins, and interesting to see them doing so well, and whether they can, of course, finish out their strongest possible results.
Yeah, and one thing that you just mentioned there about the fact that they were both from the same playing group made me realize that when you look at all the groups, all four teams that made it out of play-ins are currently sitting in playoff positions. Vitality B, Carmine Corp, Bifrost, and
this is really interesting, right? Because
edition.
normally from play-ins, you have like one or two teams which make a really deep run because the extra time on stage or an extra game time can kind of help them get themselves kind of into a more experienced position, make themselves more comfortable, and then kind of use that to fix some of the issues which they might have had when they lost the finals to finish as a second or third seed or whatever. And it's very interesting to see that this time around, as you were saying, it seems like all of the players teams are doing pretty well for themselves.
Of course, when you have Carmine Corp and Reckless on your roster, yeah, the expectations are high at the very least for the LFL, but not anymore about them for now. As we're looking towards this draft, what do the teams want to play? And I am excited for at the very least, though, Ents won't be allowed to play his signature jersey.
No, and he had a couple of games on that. From what I've been seeing over all those VODs, and it's just, again, it adds that volatility into a game, which teams which are coming in as an underdog, it gives them the ability to punch upwards on a really good roll. But you kind of sat there, it's like, well, this might be a 1 or a 6 and a 6-sided dice. If we get a good enough roll, maybe even a better team than us in terms of pound for pound for what's expected on paper, can deliver above that point. Whereas against Bisons and Templar's bands, you're expecting Seraphine, Soraka, Karma, the big Enchanter, Enabler, Death Ball champions, which allow you to group up as 4 or 5 members, become an unstoppable force of heal and shields.
And regardless of if the teams want to have fun, Atlanta at the very least don't want to play against Enchanters, that's for sure. The Seraphine
No one
and
does,
the Karma
if
ban.
us.
The Sari, though, breaks that trend as the Jarvan and all also gets put on the ban board by Bisons.
That's the one like guaranteed red side ban. Ever since Jinx and the Fellows have been kind of knocked down a peg or two, it's opened up a lot of red side again in terms of what you do want to ban, and you can kind of reply to a lot of different things. But Zeri is the one thing where you're thinking, look, that's one's kind of hard to counter in some ways. We've tried the Nasus support. In fact, actually, Bison's one of the teams to start that off in the first place, and that's harder to counter. So actually, we're moving back towards what seems today has been absolutely a Xin Zhao Viego day. It's just been the flavor of the jungle.
Flavor of the jungle is what they've been playing the whole split. It's what they're comfortable on, but so far, no matter the draft, looks to be completely serious. At the very least, Bisons haven't shown anything strange recently.
Okay, all right.
Upcoming, and I'm excited for this because I really want to see Atlanta have a good game on stage. They haven't been able really to do anything other than have slivers of hope here and there, but
they have been close.
Good moments, but never a good game.
Actually, I think it was Atlanta's first game on stage where they had Gabo on the set. That was
almost
pretty good, actually. It went late game. You can see that Gabo, who is, speaking of Gabo, this player who, when you speak to people from the Italian scene, like, this is the next player beyond your Shadow, your Jizuke, your Click from last year as well, who is the next Italian player to watch. And they've had, again, sparks of glory, the ability to keep going forward. But we see that Jinx locked in, and the specialty of the Bisons is their mages to make that Jinx's laning phase living hell. It's been locked in.
Oh my god, I'm excited for the Sarath. Random played it one time throughout the LVP spring split, but Bisons, they're not gonna play completely 100% standard. They have to make something up, and this is certainly what they're throwing in the hot pot today.
Yeah.
Sarath, as you said before.
It's a little bit, it's kind of along the same lines as something which we've seen a little more commonly in the bot lane in terms of something like Ziggs. And Ziggs is also commonly paired up with something like the Leona, which is also locked in, where later into the game, you're sat there and you get hit by the Leona CC, and you get 2-3 shots of the Xerath ultimate flying forwards and dealing just an immense amount of damage and making it very easy to find picks on people out of position.
Namara, that is an Ahri as well. Sonics will have his chance to prove that he's a good Ahri to you. The Ahri specialist.
See, this is the thing. Like, I appreciate it. I accept this offering to the Church of Ahri, to the shrine, but we'll see whether it has any books involved with it. I mean, this is the thing. Like, again, I've played Ahri far too much in my own time playing League of Legends at this point, but my belief is you go for the Dark Seal, you go for the Magi's, and you can become more of a damage threat, regardless of whether you're building Everfrost or not. I have my own opinions on that too. Ludens is still an item, that can actually do some damage, but it's a safe blind pick at this point. It's the last pick of their three. They can ban away some of the more choice counters. Aurelia and Vega are actually, they're champions which can hold the Ahri to account. In terms of if you play too aggressively into a Vega, the cage shuts you down. If you play into Aurelia just has that random chance to just all in you at different points. So Atlanta kind of setting up Zonix for success there.
And Mervin doesn't want to play against the set that we have seen Gabo play before, as well as the Gwen, so those two taken off the table. The top lane of Atlanta kind of being banned out here, so I'm excited to see what he goes towards, but it looks like they want to save the counter pick for him as they're hovering and locking in that account.
Okay, well, you already see the support locked in on the other side, right? So it's just a fairly simple support counter pick. Now, remember, there is still technically a flex of the Xerath between bot and mid. It should be in that bot lane, though. I think that into Viego Ahri, you're risking getting shut down. But is that going to be a mid lane Cho'Gath? Is that AP mid lane Cho'Gath? That would be really fun.
I mean, it definitely looks like it, right? That Tryndamere could also go mid, and then Mervin will be playing it in the top lane. But look, we all know Mervin. The chances of him playing tank are low compared to other carries.
Very
and
low.
I think the Tryndamere is certainly what he will be going towards. But they can flex it. That's the magic.
They can flex the two of them. Yeah, you can flex the two of them.
Lol champagne.
I mean, Tryndamere just kind of pushes waves, and you don't have kill threat against the Ahri, but you're kind of sat there going like, well, okay. So now you look at that Sion, you think, right, Sion can hold waves very well, has a lot of wave clear for a tank, and then kind of makes Tryndamere's job quite difficult in team fights. And now you have to start asking, okay, do you want to go tank versus tank on that top side, or potentially have Tryndamere shut down in the 1v1 matchup against the Sion who just clears waves for forever?
So it is that Cho'Gath up in the top lane for Mervin. That also means that Gabo is going towards a tank himself. It's the Sion. So one of the matchups I was very excited to watch coming into this, the young up-and-coming Italian player who could be the best Italian player after some of the likes of Jizuka and Shadow. And then Mervin, the rookie of the split from LVP, now just put on tank duty. That's what happens whenever you start getting hyped for a top lane matchup. I've had this happen too many times before, but instead, the mid lane matchup and bot lane looks very spicy to me.
Yeah, and it's past that 20-second timer, so we know that though these champions are going to be in the roles with the shown on screen. But now we're sat here. I mean, of course, Cho'Gath, you kind of expect it to be going towards Everfrost even when it is more of a, a tanky top lane role. And I'm looking at the Cho'Gath Q value in this game. If Viego steps out of position, or if you get a good enough angle to knock up someone like that Jinx, that's really, really high value because you get that into a Xerath Q, into maybe Leona going forwards as well. It's a very high threat of being picked off from the side of Bison. So Atleta, they'll need to position well, get that vision down correctly to make sure that these champions you can kind of pick you apart around the fringes don't get full value.
Yeah, and talking about that Viego, it is interesting to see MX Dragon pick it up. Something he's definitely learned between the PG Nationals and EU Masters, because he hasn't played at all in the regular season and playoffs of that PG National split. So it's something he's picked up throughout the offseason, maybe realized that this is what the EU Masters meta is like, so he had to pick it up.
Well, I mean, I think everyone plays Viego at this point. It's the kind of thing where obviously over the course of this split, AD carries just always play Jinx Aphelios. Everyone knows how to play this champion, and for someone like Viego, that's been meta for quite a while now. Over last year, it was a very big pick, and very soon after its release, it was a priority champion in various roles. You kind of know how you have to pick that one up.
It's something we all know how to play, really. It's a fun champion to play regardless, though, as we are about to head into the game slowly but surely. But look, we haven't really looked too much towards the bot, and you quickly mentioned the Leona versus Rakan matchup, but the Jens versus Kospik, Gubi and Oscura is certainly one to look forward to. Between these two AD carries,
no, it is, yeah. No, and I mean, as soon as you saw that Jinx locked in, you're like, okay, there's the Xerath, and you know that Xerath can very much punish that Jinx in that laning phase. So early on into that game, you're right, that 2v2, it's where individually, outside of jungle attention, that bot lane could get very high damage very quickly.
It is also the bot lane of Atleta that I would like to look at in terms of synergy, right? Because they played together back in 2020 and won up PG Nationals as well. Jens and Kospik played, so they have played together for a while, and now, yes, they've had a break on different teams, but they're back together. The synergy easily clicks, and I'm excited to see if we'll get some 2v2 action up against Gubi and Oscura.
That'd be interesting to see, of course, because, as we said, on one side you got the champions, and of course you can kind of bridge that gap a little bit with your players too, but of course, even the Bisons are not progressing from the stage of the tournament, much like Atleta, they do come in with a fair amount of pedigree under their wings.
Yeah, both teams have something to prove here. It hasn't been a good Amazon European Masters for the LVP second seed, and still, all of the minor URLs or non-accredited URLs haven't picked up a win, and Atleta could be the first one to do it at this Amazon European Masters group stage.
So, onto the Rift. One last time for both of these teams, rounding out this group stage for the two teams that are not progressing further forward from Group D. And we actually see the Grasp coming out of that Cho'Gath, which means that it's very easy to proc in the tank versus tank matchup, which means that it probably is going to be less AP, more about the... Forget about Grasp, let's dance. Who needs to fight?
Let's all be friends here. Let's hug it out. And let's all head home happy to our nations and say, yes, we might not have gone through,
you'd best not auto-attack each other on the way back to it. I know they both want a Grasp stack. They're both sat there like, Grasp is available.
Oh, we have it's beautiful. It is love beautiful. And peace across borders.
The ceasefire rings across the rift. A beautiful moment for all involved.
I will say, Mervin is a gentleman. If you look at the skin. It's kind of awkward when we're not looking at the skin, but if you remember...
I will acknowledge that, but this is my note to you here, Duckling. Name puns are easy. They're the easy ones. You get one of them per cast, and that's yours used already, okay? You used it already.
I'll note that down. No more puns for LDLC versus Unicorns of Love, and maybe even the tiebreaker. Regardless, though, top laners are starting in the top side, and one top laner is getting a little more love here, as Scabo is leashing on Mervin. He's just in his lane.
So, there was a chance for Mervin to potentially take control of this wave, but the problem is against someone like Sion, he could be sat in that front brush, so as you walk up to that lane, you can get absolutely bonked by the decimating smash. That's not going to be the case in this one. Mervin's going to take control of the first 3 minions, whereas Gabo loses out a little bit on that. Yeah,
one stun and a couple auto attacks ends, taking a lot of damage down towards the spot lane trade, but Icedale's on the top side. MX Dragon going towards his Crocs before he looks to go to those Raptors, and Albatreya also pathing towards the bot lane. So top lane looks to be left alone, as the bro lane certainly has ended with Mervin taking a good trade.
Yeah, well, why must bros fight? Well, apparently they have to, because it's laning phase, and try and, again, push in those waves, take control of that lane how they can. But both these junglers doing a full clear of one quadrant, going down towards that bot side, and Have to see really what happens in regards to this bot lane, because that's where things tend to get a little bit more annoying. Because if you get, of course, you have this huge push in from the Jinx, taking control of the wave currently. That might lead to my Dragon having the choice of scuttles across the map.
A lot of trades throughout the lanes, but no one fully committing except for Sonics here, maybe? No, the healing is just simply too good. It baited me.
Yeah.
It's random. It's able to survive.
So, this is one of those matchups that I'm sat there like, wish I'd taken Ignite. Because when you have Ahri into melee champions, because you start for that with that W, you get to W auto with the move speed, and also you take an attack speed shard in Ahri most of the time too, because your base attack speed is fairly high. You get a lot of value out of that. You have very strong level 1, level 2, level 3. You can walk up, and as you can see there, just have that extra mobility, continually chunk down with those autos, with Ws, and even some like Tryndamere with a fair amount of sustain can eat the worst end of that and give up a lot in the laning phase beyond what you normally expect for this champion.
Yeah, and you know, we just had a slow game before, but this game is already giving me those vibes because Cosmic just went up to potentially get Dove here. No, just a big trade, but he went up to help with the scuttle while Inch recalled, and look what's in spot. 3 minutes into the game.
He also tried to hold the wave, right? He tried to hold that wave, make sure that Jinx gets something before it crashed under tower, and it's worked out so far, but both junglers went from top to bot, and they're here for the bot lane.
Yeah, early action could be happening. Alpha Traper yet to be spotted, I believe, but MX Dragon certainly has on that ward flash available for Cosmic if he wants to take it. Doesn't decide to go for it in the end. Alpha Traper has recalled Cosmic. Could get caught out here, down to half HP, needs to be careful.
Does need to be careful, and the thing is now that you have, of course, minions to the advantage of Atleta if they want it to kind of stay on their side of the lane. You know, there's extra minions on the Bison's wave. Means that Gooby and Ascura having to back off. Of course, they have the teleport on the Xerath if they do want to teleport back into lane and buy themselves a little bit more of an easy reset. Of course, Gooby actually not... Okay, actually stays... Oh, this is really interesting. So Gooby has actually gone for the Futures Market, has enough good farm on the first few waves to sit in base, go for the Lost Chapter on the first back, and now suddenly it's very hard to displace that Xerath from bot lane.
Yeah, he seems like a rock, almost. He is kind of made of it, it looks like, if you go into that.
Magic rocks. And, as opposed to Malphite, who's
Yeah.
regular rocks, you now have magic rocks on the bot side. I wonder if they like... Maybe it's like that popping candy, where if you kind of you put it in your mouth and just like...
Oh, that popping
maybe
candy.
that's
I
it.
had that as a kid, though. That's not an age diff. I remember those as MX Dragon. Might remember taking a punch to the face here as he gets CC'd up. Alpha Traper locks him down, and it's the first blood to Bisons.
It is, and actually Tryndamere gets to control mid lane for a brief moment. Mighty Dragon not able to have their mid lane come over in support of them, and that's a very easy first blood for Bisons.
Bisons in the lead for once. It's been a rough day for them as they have taken 2 losses now, though. Looking to get another win on the board just before they head home of Amazon European Masters. Cosmic, though, could be looking for a Ascura here. He does have a flash to get out to safety. Ensto looks to root him up as well with the Flame Chompers. The damage to that from both carries. Ascura, flash is already used. Flash available for Ent if he wants to follow up. The sap misses. Alpha Traper is around the corner. MX Dragon is pretty far away. He will be here in a couple of seconds, but Cosmic could already get taken down and will becomes lightning seals it. Now Alpha Traper so close to going down. Ents just need a reset to take it over. The damage is so low, but Ascura finally falls. A 1-for-1.
Yeah, and as soon as you see those health bars going low for the Bisons, they start backing off because they realize the Viego resets are coming through. Yes, you can't actually bring yourself out of that stolen body until you unlock your ultimate. You're not able to reset back into the Viego form, but just having the extra round of basic abilities flying in front of you was way too much to continue that fight, and ends up being an even fight.
Wow, it's a recent team, right? I can definitely understand the fact that he just want to run away as Mervin. I should be able to take this one down. No,
Oh,
doesn't
getting
have
pretty
the
close
feast.
there, yeah.
There is no dinner. I take it all back. There is no ultimate. There is no way to secure it, right? The auto attacks do quite a bit of damage. But Gabbo able to walk out.
I'm about to say, even without the feast, a lot of consistent damage coming out from the percent HP damage of those Vorpal spikes, and the Sunfire, or rather the mini Sunfire of the Barmies ticking away. So Gabbo losing out fairly heavily on that trade. And actually that is now actually very close to being an ultimate backup on that top side. I wonder if we're looking at a potential dive, but the wave's cleared out and Gabbo gets to safely retreat from that lane.
Gabbo, yeah. Respects it. I'm happy that he does that, because if you remember back to the first game of the day, he did get solo killed by Ibo pretty handedly. Now though, MX Dragon looks to make his way towards the bot side. They're recalling though, you have to hurry. Oscure has cancelled his. Gooby has also done it, so they will
no
be
flash.
fighting here. MX Dragon gets CC'd up, but it doesn't matter. The Spectral Maw doesn't connect, actually. And Oscure might just be able to fancy beat his way out of this one. There's no grand entrance, there's no damage. And Oscure just walks away to safety.
Gets out of it, gets away with the Zenith Blade out of the zap, uses kind of the pseudo mobility of the Zenith Blade to avoid some damage. The Glacial helps out. You have the CC from Xerath flying over the top, and they just about get away with it.
And Albatraber, after getting stolen quite a few Raptors in the former game, is now taking revenge by taking another one. That's the second time this game.
A return to chicken-based crime, as Albatraber goes looking for that coop on the other side of the rift. Hasn't managed to get towards this top lane yet. Has been around the top side a fair amount, but their successes come through that. Of course, that one kill very early on onto catching out Mighty Dragon under the jungle, but finally going to get themselves towards that top side of the map again to go towards this Herald. The Skures runs up, doesn't have himself an ultimate or anything. It's far too early in the game for that, but even without that, Bison's going to quickly claim that objective and walk away with a neutral to the name.
What does MX Dragon get in return? What does Atleta get in return? Well, a red buff. That's pretty much all they earn. A reset as well on Gappo, but it is really not a silver lining. You couldn't call it that. Maybe a bronze lining, if you're gonna take it that far.
Wow, way to flame them. Well, let's see if there's any flames involved. Ignite's going down.
Oh yeah, he's certainly dead. The Battle Dance is not even gonna have time to be used as Cosmic Falls. That's a pickup for Oscure.
And okay, all back towards top lane.
Yeah, Gabbo wants to kill him. Mervin gets CC'd up. The CC chain is there as well. The decimating smash comes through. A few more autos will do it. Who picks up the kill? MX Dragon. Will it be donated? No. Gabbo yells at him and picks it up.
Okay, so they're not quite able to judge the timings. Ult from Sion comes back into the lane. It's effective lane gank from the person who's actually in just the lane already. And Gabbo gets himself a kill after eating the worst end of so many trades. Has at least managed to get something back in pocket.
So, what does Albatraber get in return? Yes, he manages to continue his crimes by stealing away a blue buff. Cosmix even sees it in 4K, but can't do anything. He has no cups behind him to help him. And MX Dragon was in the top side.
Wanted, dead or respawning. One enemy jungler, Albatraber. Last seen at this location around blue buff. He's actually head back all over his red buff now, but with all of the implications from top lane on that kill, it's going to be a couple of plates over towards Gabbo. You can see actually 3 plates taken down by Marin in the isolated matchup of that Cho'Gath, using that ability to, again, do quite a lot of damage in extended trades, and then the demolish on towers do continually take some gold down in that lane. But we have to really see what's going to happen to going forward from this. Is Random trying to pick up the cannon. He's trying to pick up the cannon, but he's just not being allowed to get it.
Just hit it. He walked up before and faced
just order the cannon.
One more. Yeah, he gets it, but does he die? Random can just dive him.
You died for a cannon.
That's not worth. And Random just gets the solo kill.
And Zonix has a flash, but didn't have mana for ult. Could have teleported back, but doesn't order the cannon and dies for the reattempt.
You know,
that's just such a sad situation.
He gets the 60 gold, right? That's something at the very least. And
oh wow, yeah, I'll trade 60 gold for 300 the other way to the Tryndamere, who I have to lane against in side lanes after this point. That sounds fair. Sounds like an even trade.
That sounds like a good trade.
Zonix is now gonna teleport back to lane, but you know, as much as Ari's meant to.
No.
Why must you do this to me? He walks up. He walks back. He is trying to attack this minion. This is an auto attack too far. This is the very last part of their mana spent on one W, one set of Foxfires to take out the minion. Doesn't even have enough mana to charm the Tryndamere under turret. I mean, the Tryndamere had the ult anyway. You're likely dying. Zonix just way far overstayed their ability to stay in that lane.
The Undying Rage didn't even need to be used, and now Cosmic will be CC'd up. Good look to go back in as MX Dragon is around the corner. Albatraber is looking for the damage, the Ignite ticking, but not quite enough.
Xerath
the Arcane Comets connect, and Gooby snipes one away.
Alright, the Arcane from downtown. Gibby picks one up. I know earlier in the... Oh, not again. Don't show me this again. But either way, you know, you were talking about how earlier in the day, Gooby, you preferred him on the traditional marksman. Played that Soraka earlier in the day, obviously, but this time was playing towards the Xerath, and this game is looking fairly confident from the player.
Bison Seaglob looking good, looking to pick up their second win and head homes with their heads held high as Mervin He's taking a bad trade here. Gets CC'd up by the decimating smash. The Herald on the bot side could lead into a fight, and it does. The Skirk gets CC'd up. The flash away. Albert Traber caught in a 1v3 situation. The support can only watch as he looks to fall. But here comes Random. He wants to pick up some kills in return. MX Dragon, though, takes over Albert Traber's body. Can't find the wind becomes lightning as they continue to run towards Random. But he has the fancy feet on as he just dashes away to safety.
Doesn't. For a moment, you think that, Bisons are very heavily overextended, and they do lose one kill for it, but they still take a huge crushing power play on the bot side with the Herald charging into that bot lane outer and inner turrets. However, even with that, the person who does die is the jungler, because the dragon goes over free to Athleta. No smite contested on this particular turning point in the game, but even with this, it feels like it's just a little bit of a feel-good moment. I'm not really sure how much one kill's worth of gold is going to matter when you're falling actually fairly significantly far behind in this early game. And Bisons, they've struggled to get leads in this tournament so far. It's like,
wow.
I don't know how long we're going to be looking at this 1v1 if we're just panning over this wet noodle fight, which we we luckily don't see as many of in the current metagame.
It isn't a wet noodle fight anymore. It's a hot noodle fight. Both of them having the microwave in the Sunfire ages.
It's burning noodles.
Wow.
Oh, it's so exciting. Come here and get your Barmies noodle pods. That is now my official. That is now my official name for any kind of Sunfire-related trades. The Barmies noodle pots is that. Yeah, you can just see these champions don't do damage.
Sometimes we all have what League of Legends has become. They just refuse to die. There is no feast, there is no nothing. No one can kill each other. They have to get help. As now MX Dragon makes his way up.
Order up for Mighty Dragon. We have one noodle pot for you.
One hot noodle pot coming right up for Albert Traber maybe, or Gooby. Right at the Arcane, throw it out, connects one, but he also doesn't do any damage to a tank.
Nope.
They just walk out to safety. No noodles for anyone.
Okay, looks like the order's not quite ready yet. See if that culinary perfection is delivered on yet another date. Sistan's got another Demolish Pro coming into this tower, and Cho'Gath and Sion winning out on the matchup enough over the length of the entire laning phase to pick off the entire turret for themselves.
Not quite a noodle, but could be an entree, or the red buff might end up in that position. MX Dragon goes back with the Blade of the Ruined King and does a little bit of damage, but no one really are commenting at the moment. Athleta with a 5k gold deficit, struggling to find their way back in the game as the Heron is also spawning.
But you're at a point now where Xerath is very much online, didn't die in laning phase, healthily up in gold, extra 600 gold up against their lane opponent. They're going to be clearing waves for forever and a day. You've got the Cho'Gath, we talked about how they were kind of pushing in before. Yeah, it was the one time they were punished by the Sion and Viego collapsing in on them. So you're going to have, but you're still going to be pushing in that lane, right? So you're going to have Xerath pushing in, you're going to have Cho'Gath pushing in, and Tryndamere just going to be doing Tryndamere things.
Yeah.
At this point, you get to walk into the enemy jungle, put down vision, able to kind of continually make sure that okay, that's a really good trade there from Stonix. But either way, you can see the Bisons are doing the full court press, and the vision is starting to show that too. There's only one red ward on the other side of the jungle from Athleta. Bisons can winning the information game now as well.
Yeah, Skir might walk a bit too far forward here. You have no one around to help you, and he just gets CC'd up by the Spectrum or the Blade of the Ruined King for the auto attack reset. Stonix could jump over. Random is solo on HP, and Skir
easy
just
kill.
Too far forward.
Okay, all right. Because this has been the scene of a couple of missteps now for Bisons. We saw Albert Traber stepping a little far forward. This time it's the Skir, and it's going to be the Ari that picks up that one kill. Look, I know you got to boil noodles for like a couple of minutes. This is far too long. This is now very, very overcooked noodles. They are
too far.
They're done.
They're Kansaki. They're wet again. Come on, someone take it away. I think they might be served for once. No, the rupture misses. A few more autos and the feast. Dinner is finally served. The noodles hot and ready as Mervin solo kills Gabo.
Oh, it's such a meaningless kill. It feels so bad to get excited for that, but we've waited far too damn long.
Oh no,
Random finally come around, Random flashing forward.
Bot lane. He wants them, but he gets CC'd up for ages. The Undying Rage, though, he wants them all. He wants his own dinner as well, but he gets CC'd up. The Grand Entrance might get taken down as it's a shutdown. Going over to MX Dragon, he can just take over the fight. It's actually important. Doesn't have the Undying Rage, remember. Jukes the Solar Flare with the Heartbreaker right in the Arcane. Connects. Gooby snipes him from downtown. Could almost get to, but Albert Traber will surely lock it down. Wind becomes lightning. Misses, only hits Cosmic, and Sonic's able to get out.
Oh, it's another messy, drawn-out fight. And it does feel like Bison's come out just slightly the better for it in that one, even though they lose Random. for the price of it. Gooby gets to stay in mid lane while this is happening, ends Gale forces away.
His feet.
Can't see Phoebe. Is it going to be enough to defend this tower? This Cho'Gath is actually becoming real threat. It's becoming a bit of a problem.
I mean,
going to walk up and demolish these towers over and over. You can see how much damage. I mean, he took down an entire top lane turret pretty much by himself, and getting to kind of transfer that power into other lanes is really obnoxious now for Atlanta to deal with.
It is very obnoxious, and we're at that point of the game where the tanks have gotten tanky, but the AD carries don't do that much damage. So Ends is struggling, trying to do anything. But let's look at the replay regardless.
So this is Trinibet. Understanding that there are teammates coming to help out in this fight, but kind of doesn't expect the other members of Atlanta to be coming along the same lines. We see Viego starting to reset, but even with that, I mean, Jinzhao, when you pop that ult and with your full burst combo, does a good amount, but of course you got a global here too. They played with some globals earlier on with the Karthus and the Soraka ult. This one's more of a semi-global. This one's more local of an affair though.
Gooby could get taken down, but no, he turns it around. Ends struggling to deal damage, just gets devoured by the noodles. Mervin picks that one up. It's 2 quick kills for Bison.
Oh, and Goob, okay, fight keeps going.
Yeah, it keeps going. Oscar gets CC'd up by the re-engage, but the damage simply isn't there. There is no Viego, there is no AD carry. The Sonics who has to do it all. Alpha Tripper could get CC'd up. No good juke with that E. Prospect though.
Oh, the damage just doesn't stop.
They don't have the damage to stretch through anything, and now here comes Random, the right of the Arcane, takes down Sonic, and it takes down the entirety of Athletic. Gooby falls. Prospect, the only man standing to tell the tale of how the Noodles are destroying Athletic.
Repeat after me. I am a Gooby. Yeah, Xerath doing so much damage after that. Stomping through the competition. Kubiushi hitting all of those skill shots. 4-0 and 2. Shadow Flame coming through, and Cosplay trying to find something on return.
That feels bad as he is almost gets taken down by the MX Dragon. Goes back in, might have a chance to take him down. The Heartbreaker misses. Can they take him? They finally do the shutdown. Goes over to MX Dragon.
So Bison's overstayed the one fight, but the fight was still won just before that. Take 2 towers, and they're very happy with that. 7,000 gold up. It's gotten to the point where the gold is large enough that it is very, very much weighing down on this game. And Atlanta, they've struggled to hold individual lanes. They're struggling to find fights now against the run of play, even though they have pick potential. It's just, we talked very early into that draft. Bisons, if they get control of vision, they get to fire out Cho'Gath Qs, approach towers from different directions, start to play around their long-range follow-up, and Atlanta don't have great tools to deal with that. And that's now been the state of this game for the last couple of minutes.
If the PG Nationals manage to come back and get a game here, I think they can head home with their heads held high, but let's look at how Gooby get caught out.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can see them trying to get those plays right. I mean, they're trying to catch out that Xerath who's been so safe for so long in this game. That would have been an important pick, but it's, again, you're doing it into a lot of enemy vision. You're doing it while you're still behind them in a lot of gold, and they just didn't quite have that damage. And Gooby, because your Xerath doesn't actually have to worry about being a half HP at this point. The engaged threat's gone, and still got that ultimate right of the Arcane coming through for yet another kill in this game. Been very accurate with those shots in this game so far, and it's taken a little while to come online, Bisons. And again, this will be both these teams' last games in this group stage. But gosh, Gooby is really looking to hammer it home with a powerful performance here on the Xerath.
And he's doing it against the National League that brought him up, that he made UMass with, and he even made it to the top 8, so he's definitely back. Some revenge, and just to show that he has improved a lot since his time in the PG Nationals. Mervin, a big meatball, but how much can he soak up? The noodles and the meatball is everything. Is there the rupture? By some time, he just slowly walks away down to half HP. Could actually get taken down. The CC no flashed away from, and he walks under his turret. But Gabbo survives so long under the turret. There is no way to safety as MX Dragon falls.
Okay, so turns out it's really easy to tower dive when you have someone as tanky as the Scion, and they walk away with both tanks in train.
That's a life hack, that's a life hack.
Viego becomes the noodle. Goes away with that Cho'Gath stolen form, and Atlanta gets something back. They managed to attack those side lanes, coming through with yet again another Scion ult coming down the lane with some follow-up coming up beyond that, but it's not really enough for Atlanta to claim that much off it. They're not getting vision from this. There's still very precious few wards colored red across the map. They're not getting themselves a turret. Objective bounties are on the table, but they haven't had access to any of them so far.
Atlanta managing to pick up 2 Drakes, Bison's only getting the 1, so no real soul is a threat in this game. It is simply just raw damage in the fights. We've had a lot of action this game compared to the last one, and Gooby is certainly having fun. You also have fun with
he's about to
game,
build
but
his 3 items. He's got a lot of magic pen. Death cap very close to being completed on that champion too. He's picked up the 2 nifty large rods, and at this point, if you don't instantly kill Xerath, well, you can see how much damage they're doing with an ultimate alone.
Look, how can they kill him? They can't even see him. He simply just pokes out as Cosbeck could get taken down. One more round of the Arcane would have done it, but he ran out of artillery and he had to go back.
Okay, but what this does mean is that you know that the Rakan is now forced back off of the map. Too low HP, gonna have to reset. Gooby, off of finding, again, just skill shot accuracy, finding someone out of position, putting the wards down further in mid lane. Again, putting long-range wards down, giving him so much ability to just do damage like this.
MX Dragon has to survive this if they want to make it a 50-50 at the Baron. That has to up and stop.
Again, look at how high value those wards are there. Gooby might be caught out here, though.
Oh, good flash, though, as he turns it back around onto Sonic, doesn't get hit by the Everfrost and is back out to safety. Continues to throw out the poke and miss a bit of it, but it is safe for now.
Safe for now, but safe for how long? Because every time Gooby's got that ultimate again, those deep wards are doing work. Mighty Dragon clears out 1 just in that Raptor's bush, but there's always another 1 or 2 in that jungle. And you have, of course, the Leona ult into the Xerath. This becomes so much more high value, and they keep putting them down. Atlanta, they have such a poor foundation to start fighting back this game into.
Yes, Cosbeck looks for the fight onto Mervin. I'm not sure you want this. I don't think you have the damage to take him down quickly, at the very least. Scooby hasn't recalled yet, so he is down to half HP. Be aware that he could actually get caught out now. No flash for the next 4 minutes.
Okay, you say getting caught out, but I mean, even with that, Prospect doesn't have that flash. And this is the thing, I think Gooby is more than happy to sat here now. Maybe if he sat alone in a lane, half HP is not quite the amount that you want. But again, look at this. Look at the value this 1 ward is getting.
Having used the Gale Force as well, if he would have gotten hit by the first one, or the second one rather, actually, he would have gone down ends. Taken from 80 to 30%.
It's blowing cooldown, just forcing people to reset, it's forcing Atlanta onto the back foot. They don't have members on the map who are full HP. It's not like this Jinx has got sustain in their build right now. I mean, this is the point where, you know, ends being off the map is very, very important too. You need that Jinx to be doing stuff. And look at this. Bison's even feeding a Grump for the regen and mana and HP, so Gooby can stay even longer on the map. Bison's seriously weaponizing the Xerath.
Gooby is simply taking over. He was, after all, nicknamed Gubayushi by the LVP fans due to his good Aphelios performance. I'm not sure Gubayushi has played too much Xerath, but he's definitely smurfing.
I've used up, so we've used Gubayushi, we've used the Gooby Goober. We need to somehow fit in Gooby stomping a team fight. We can work that one in. You can have that one at some point.
Yeah, okay, you should just give that to me. It's definitely not super hard to find up, but yeah, sure.
Well,
how could I make one
He
up
only
for
got
that?
himself the stats to do so, but Objective Bounty finally cashed in by Atlanta. It is such a drip in the bucket of what they would have to fill up to get onto even standing, and Atlanta just kind of hanging on for dear lives as it feels like Bisons are in complete control of where the plays happen at their own leisure.
Could you perhaps say Gooba is Goomba stomping?
That was in fact the reference. That was the reference I was going for. I'm glad that you've realized that.
Oh my god, come on, man. The active is too good. It's getting the better of me. Regardless,
maybe we'll see it.
Maybe he just Giga stumps. Regardless, as now here comes the Cyan into the front line, but it's only just
what can they do with
Gooby
it?
in the back line poking the resets. For Ents could be huge in this fight if they CC up Albatrape as well. Mervin will take some time to get down, but Random won't be here for ages either way. The CC is there, Mervin is solo, but Ents loses so much HP. Right at the Arcane just needs to connect one more time, but he's juking them all. Gooby can't connect, and now Atlanta's actually winning the fight. Mervin gets taken down. Here comes Random though. He takes down one on the other side. He does have the Undying Rage. He wants to keep the fight going. Gooby still hitting out the damage, but he can't take down anyone as Random now has to run his way. Gooby gets CC'd up. Atlanta simply just winning the fight. A miracle is alive as they take down 4.
And they take down so many because Gooby wasn't there to set up the fight. Atlanta, on what it feels like a very slim window of time, find a point to get a fight without being poked out. And then they catch a single target. Viego resets, and Viego resets are the magic dust which Atlanta's team comp can play around. It snowballs into the rest of it. And Atlanta are going to walk away with not just a huge fight, with a whole load of shutdowns. They're walking away with a Baron, which could potentially stabilize themselves in this game after we were ready to write them off.
We have a game on our hands, Namera. I am excited for this. Atlanta finally showing some life, winning a massive team fight there. Let's take a look at how they did it.
And look at the health bars of how this team fight starts. Full HP on everyone. How much work does Gooby get to do before this fight even starts? Exactly 0. Ends, Zonix, not even touched at this point. And as we were talking about, the Viego resets it through at this point. You've stolen a Leona. That's a really good basic kit. Gets to come out again. And at this point, yeah, Xerath starts doing damage, but you've already lost that first kill, and with a couple of skill shots just not quite landing, it's Atleta that used their resets between the Ari and the Viego to massive value to finally clean up a fight, and this is such a slim timing, very massively orchestrated by the PG Nats team to come away with what feels like a very difficult victory to have found themselves.
And Atleta's frontline is just so massive when they manage to take down Mervin. You have two big pots of hot noodle just being unable to be killed for ages, and it is so strong and ends. Getting the time to dish out the damage.
Bison's looking to probably have a carb high diet, but it's Fury that's going down.
Yeah, Gooby has to flash away. Happily for him, that comes off cooldown just in time as now Gabo gets CC'd up on random. Might just be bursted. Remembers to press the Undying Rage. But luckily, what's that? It's a massive decimating smash. Gooby gets CC'd up. The resets. Everything is there for the PG national representatives as they look for their first win. Gabo might be down, but they still win the fight. They take down 3.
Oh, and we were talking about the drop in a bucket while we talked about all of that, but it just flows, and the hard work of Atleta to stay in this game is starting to pay off.
Atleta finally showing that they can actually play good League of Legends. It's just pleasant to watch them play at the moment, Amara. They're playing so well. Gooby struggling to have an impact.
For me, the big thing is just finding the timing windows. It's finding the small windows where you have been poked out to find an decisive engage in the 5v5, and Atleta have managed to do that 2 times back-to-back, and that has now suddenly taken a lot of wind out of the sails of the Bisons, who, again, you know, they had a lot of fan expectations coming into this tournament, even though they have a lot of newer players on their roster, but this is a team which was so exciting to watch back in their region with their crazy drafts, theory crafting ways to break open the meta, and this was a game where we thought that they'd really taken it over and put it to bed, but this one has not been quite sealed out yet, and might be staring at what would be such a disastrous 1-5 if they were to lose this game out of this group stage.
Would definitely not be a good showing for the LVP representatives, but look, Cosmic just finding the fight, forcing Gooby to flash away, and as you said, then he can't have an impact and keep your eyes on Gabo.
And that's a big thing for me, actually. You're absolutely right. Call out that front line, because you're not dealing damage here as Bisons to a relevant carry. You don't have a crit carry that has a Lord Dominic's Regards that can cut through the Scion. And I mean, Scion is more than happy in this fight. Look, he's gone into his passive, and even then, because you have to run through Gabo to try and gate reach anyone else, that Scion passive is doing lots of work too. Atleta, not for the first time now, finding themselves an opportunistic fight, and it goes in their favor.
And for 5 games, Atleta have been thrown around by these major ERLs, not really having that great of a time. Here and there, having glimmers of hope, but never really being able to be in control of a game. Yes, they are still 1,000 gold behind, but this game is certainly one that they can actually win and go home with their heads held high.
You know, we've spoken a lot about the large ERLs, you know, our accredited ERLs in the Amazon European Masters circuit, but we've kind of lamented how it's kind of been difficult for the non-accredited ERLs to really stamp home a lot of big victories because of the caliber of the teams that are coming through, particularly in this splits competition. But if Atleta were to walk forward with a win, even though this one sadly doesn't have any implications on the rest of the standings in Group D, still would be one to kind of put onto the non-accredited ERLs list and say, hang on, this is one we had in our favor. Let's see if they can steal it out though.
That's the thing, they have gotten some good fight, they have gotten to the late game, but they still need to close it out. These players of this caliber can always just pull a rabbit out of the hat and turn it around as Gabo now gets engaged upon by Alpha but there is no Sonic's end. Always has to choose these 5 rides with the Arcane. Look how low he has already gotten taken. Gabo still alive though. Random gets CC'd up, almost gets taken down. The Undying Rage keeps him alive. MX Dragon, here he comes. He wants him to fight. Sonic's on the back line looking for Gooby, and he does well so far. Random falls, and it looks like another fight for Atleta. Sonic's though taken so low by 1 Q from Gooby in the front line. Mervin slowly but surely getting shredded. He will go down after a while. That gargoyle Stoneblade is massive as yet another fight goes over to Atleta.
More HP just means more amplified damage from that Lord Dominic's Regards from Ends. Jinx has no shortage of damage. You just have to sit in front of your target, keep auto-attacking, they'll go down. And Atleta, they fight the front to back. It gets a little bit scary again because things get little awkward on the initial pick. It was Albatreva who was going forward, trying to cut that front line off far enough away from their team while Gooby zones off the rest of Atleta. But as we were talking about before, there really isn't a huge amount of tank killing potential from the side of Bison. It's not like you've even got yourself the Lord Dom's regards on someone like your Tryndamere, who has gone towards... I mean, actually, I say that, you know, they have the Serylda's Grudge, but a large portion of the damage coming from Lord Doms is the extra 15% damage you get when you're on your attacking targets which are of a higher HP than you. And even with this, you know, Random isn't auto-attacking very consistently. It takes such a long time for that Sion to be melted through, flashes away, and at that point, a lot of the hard legwork's been done now for Atleta, and they have survived the initial onslaught, and they get Jinx to take over after they've survived their own run-in with Xerath.
And it feels like as soon as Scooby's done throwing out the comments from a long range after ends, he really just gets the time to do this damage through the front line, because at first he really just has to juke every single spell thrown at him, but when that is done, he just gets to free fire for the rest of the fight.
And actually, you know, Kozbek been very helpful in that regard as well, with the shields coming in from the Battle Dance and the Guardian too. So now as we come back to live, Baron Dance on the table, and the Rite of the Arcane's been channeled.
The Rite of the Arcane already over, as it is now simply domination from Atleta. You would have to believe, as MX Dragon actually gets taken quite low. Mervin down to about 60% HP random. Gets shot thrown at him. Goopy still alive. MX Dragon might be looking for the flank here.
It might be, but then look at this, you know, the fight's been disengaged for what feels like the first time in a 5v5. Feel like that does start to help Bisons. Again, one of the reasons that they were so far ahead is Gooby continuing to fire, continuing to go forward. They can keep at range and land these Qs. See how much damage they do.
Wow, ends so low, Cosmic low, but the front line of Bisons has been taken down. Mervin falls. Do they want to go? Do they want to look for more? The pain train would be up in a few seconds, but that carries so low. The life steal is enough to keep Ents alive, though he's back to full, so he can dish out the damage. Albatrayer falls, and this might just be it. Random being run down, Oscar being CC'd up by the decimating smash. The heartbreak comes through as all the hearts of the Spanish fans around the globe has been broken. 1-5 record for your second seed. That's not what you want, but Atleta might be looking for huge upset as MX Dragon looks to take down Random. Yes, he is undying, but Bison certainly is not, as this is not just a win for the PG Nationals. It is not just a win for Italy. It is a win for all minor ERLs that the big teams can't be defeated. Gooby CC'd up one last time as Gabo will simply have his fun. MX Dragon picks it up, and Atleta, they win a game.
Oh, and it was Gooby versus the world, but even Atlas has to take a knee every now and then. Can't hold it up, and Atlanta walk away with a victory. Hard-earned and very, very well-deserved.
It is so great to see the minor ERLs finally getting their first win on the board
Non-accredited,
in the main stage. Yes, the non-accredited. I am sorry for...
Come on, put some respect on that name.
Put some respect on that
walk
name.
away with... Yeah.
After that performance, they deserve the respect. Atleta getting the win on the board. It is a big, big win for Italy. It is a big win for the PG Nationals. After last spring, where they managed to get a team through the top 8, almost another team making a miracle run, it is good to see that your teams can still compete with these now very, very stacked major ERLs, or accredited ERLs.
Yeah, no, and you know, we walked into this game knowing that it wouldn't have those implications for the standings. We know that both these teams that were going to go towards, weren't going to be going further towards those quarterfinals, that's all. But again, it's a very emotive game for the PG Nats, and hopefully they can walk away with their heads held high.
And that is not it for Atleta. We will have an interview with Gabo after the break, so we'll head to a short one, and then we'll be back with an interview from the very talented Italian top layer. See you after the break.